I split 100 players into 2 teams and put them in the wild, leaving it up to them to survive against whatever threats might be lurking in nature. Will the players work together to create thriving civilizations in the wild, or will they turn on each other and start a war? Take your guesses as to who will win, and let's find out. This is 100 players simulate civilization in the wilderness. As all 100 players were released from their cages, they spread out to begin exploring their land. Both sides of the map contain similar landforms like mountains, lakes, and forests. Over in the north, the players were quickly spreading out, wanting to get a head start before the border separating the teams was removed for day 2. The players were able to focus on expansion early on because PvP was disabled, so they didn't need to worry about sabotage. As players explored the north map, some people came across structures including abandoned castles and other buildings. They began looking around the structures, finding things like ores and gear that would help them out later on in the event. In the south, the players had completely spread out across their land in search of gear. Some extremely lucky players, like Tuna, had found natural ore deposits inside some of the mountains and quickly mined everything they could, getting super strong gear like diamond armor early on in the event. Others tried to test their luck mining underground, but were met with a lack of naturally spawning ores. As players all across the map were finding ore deposits, others had found other ways to get resources. A group of north players had found a secret stash of iron blocks under one of the abandoned castles and quickly started mining the iron blocks so they could spread the wealth throughout their team. Soon enough though, the players realized that they weren't alone in this event. Various wild animals were spawning across the map, including monkeys, tigers, black panthers, and hippos, just to name a few. While most of these animals were passive if left alone, some of the south players decided to try and attack a hippo.
I'm so screwed. I can't run, guys.
Hit it. Jump me.
Some players from the north team had stumbled across a huge cavern in the side of a mountain containing things like lava, ores, and an abandoned nether portal. These players quickly capitalized on their findings, mining and collecting everything that they could find. They weren't alone in the cavern though, and they found a couple of monkeys who decided to drop by.
Guys, it's a monkey. Do I kill it? Kill it.
No, leave it. Don't kill any animals unless they start attacking you, because there's no point.
No, the monkey could drop food.
Stupid monkey, get back here.
On the other side of the Northland, a few players had found an underwater survival bunker under a river. I met with these players and asked about their plans for the secret bunker. So you guys just found this little secret thing underwater?
Yes, sir.
What are you guys gonna do here?
We can make this our temporary base for the meantime. Make some resources, then go out and explore some more.
Sounds like a plan. Most of the north team was gathered above ground though, and they had been working on creating a farm on the side of a river. This would be extremely important in the future because food would soon become a very scarce resource. In the south, players were still separated in search of resources. Someone named Mello was leading a few players looking for food, and they came across a wild hippo during their journey.
Whoa.
It does 300.
Wait, what is that?
On the other side of the mountains, the rest of the south players were having a bit of an issue. Sailor's Bounty had killed someone from his own team and was getting questioned by Wilding, another south player.
What's happened? Nothing. This guy slipped and fell and landed on my sword. It was an accident.
Eventually, he was forgiven and they carried on gathering resources. With the leader elections coming up soon, most of the north team was gathered in one spot. This was good for organization, but it left them exposed to the native wildlife and they were spotted by an angry tiger.
Guys, stay in the house, stay in the house.
Get in the house,
Guys,
get in the house,
guys,
get in the house.
get in the house.
Get in the house, everybody. In the house, in the house.
Oh my.
There's an enemy. There is an
Yo,
enemy.
somebody fight it.
Fortunately, nobody was killed, but this was a warning for the players that they were not the only ones in this event. The south team was facing similar issues with the local wildlife, but nobody had been killed by animals yet.
The monkey's throwing bananas.
With the players getting stronger and richer, players were told to choose a leader for their team. This leader would receive a crown and would lead their team to victory or to defeat. The North players decided to take a diplomatic approach to the leader election, and the candidates began giving speeches.
If you choose me as king, I will raise the taxes to 100%.
Is that it?
This wasn't exactly going to plan though, and the North players began arguing about who should receive their leader crown.
Can you all shut up? I'm trying to listen. No one's talking.
Back in the South, the leader election was going just as badly. Wilding was trying his best to organize the team and have a civilized election, but some people were not cooperating. Eventually, they managed to get a few people to give speeches.
Okay, do your speech, Wiz.
Okay, hello, my name is Wiz. None of you know me because I'm weird, but I just wanted to say that this is my first time wanting to do this, and like, I kind of want to be king just for the experience. So yeah, if you guys could vote for me, that'd be cool.
Up to this point, there's been two teams, the North and the South. But remember Mello and his group? They were all part of a team called the Legion, who were calling themselves the Peacekeepers for this event. They had split off from the rest of the South team and officially switched from South team to the Peacekeepers. Because they were a separate team, they had to do their own leader election. They had already chosen a leader for the event though, just as they had already planned to separate from the South players.
Leader is Mellow as always.
Alright, that means you get a crown.
Yo, actually?
You guys are officially the third team in this event. They chose Mello as their leader and he was given the crown. The other two teams had also finalized their decisions on leaders, with the South team choosing Wilding and the North team choosing Unliving. These three players would have a huge impact on the rest of the event because of their role as the leader. After the election, the players resumed their exploration. A couple North players had found a chest room in the abandoned castle containing things like armor, food, and other resources that could be useful when building a civilization. The rest of the North team was still at their farm dealing with other issues.
Does it drop meat? It might. Let's kill it.
What happens if I hit it?
Meanwhile, a South player had found a secret hole in the mountains leading all the way to bedrock. This hole was made of soul sand and it contained 3 wither skeleton skulls along with a full set of diamond armor and a netherite axe. This player was named NFT for some reason and he now had an insane amount of power. Are you gonna spawn it or like save it or what?
I mean, I don't know, I'm considering sneaking out into their area and just spawning in the middle of them.
Things were starting to slow down though, because all 3 teams had picked leaders and there was no longer a clear goal in mind. However, a quick meeting with Wilding, the South leader, said otherwise. Wilding and his team had killed the entire Peacekeeper team in past events, so they naturally disliked him. This would prove to be very important later on when the two teams would meet and discuss the future. Over at the North team's growing base, they had summoned a raid to get totems and stronger gear for the future fights from the event. However, they had overestimated their strength and lost a lot of players during the raid. But now that all 3 teams were solidified and the leaders was chosen, it was time to mix things up. So I went around to all the teams and made them an offer. So you guys, I'll let you sacrifice one person in return for a full set of netherite gear.
Yo, hold.
No.
Netherite gear to sacrifice?
Do they have to be willing?
The North team was the first team to have a chance to make a sacrifice and they instantly decided to do it. Even though they already had lost a lot of players on the raid, they didn't hesitate to sacrifice a player. Because of this, they were rewarded with a set of full netherite gear. The other 2 teams also accepted the deal, with the Peacekeepers killing someone inside their own base and the South team killing a random South player they found roaming the map.
Free, let's go, boys. Okay, who do we have to sacrifice? Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Both teams were given the set of armor and both leaders decided that they deserved the gear most. With the event sitting at a standstill, Wilding, the southern leader, decided to take action. He led a group of his players over to the Peacekeepers base, wanting to talk peacefully and discuss an alliance.
Why is everyone freaking out? I'm not here for violence.
However, the Peacekeepers were not a big fan of this idea.
Hey, watch out now.
Just want to talk.
Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Remember earlier how I said the Peacekeepers didn't like Wilding? Well, they still didn't want to consider peace, so they immediately engaged in combat when Wilding approached their base. Wilding was forced to retreat and the Peacekeepers chased him across the entire southern half of the map. Eventually, they stopped for a while to have a civilized discussion.
What are you guys doing? Back up! I'm not trusting you guys. Back up. Back up now. Anybody else come to 5 blocks from me, I'm getting them out.
Wilding, get the truth. Look, here's some lapis. Here's some lapis.
I have lapis.
Wilding ended up coming to a temporary agreement with the Peacekeepers, and he ended up escaping safely.
Oh no, okay, let's get back to base. Let's go back to base.
You guys go back to base.
Meanwhile, the northern players were making progress on their own base. The North was coming together as a team, wanting to become the most powerful of the 3. Under the North base, they had created a farm and cave system to make their base more secure. The South players had also created a base, though it was just a simple wooden house. The players were now lost as to what to do, but day 1 was almost over, so they decided to wait until day 2 to make any big decisions. A few players from the northern team had split off to make a separate base, and they had a pretty nice farm going. This would serve as a backup to their main base later on in the event when the borders disappeared. In the closing moments before the server closed for day 1, Wilding made it back to the rest of the southern team to explain what happened with the Peacekeepers.
They were all jumping me, and then they told me the reason why is because they thought that El Deathy was in my team. And the reason why they want to kill you was because you were going around and killing random people. And you want to know what? You want to know what? I like that. That's what I do at every event.
There was a lot of miscommunication going on between the teams, which caused growing tension, especially between the Peacekeepers and the South. If this wasn't fixed, it could be deadly for all of the players. With that, day 1 came to a close and the server shut off for the night. The start of day 2 came with the promise of conflict. Immediately after the server opened and day 2 began, the South team, led by Wilding, started discussing invading the Peacekeepers.
Extra netherite guy and like 6 more people, so if we don't go Peacekeepers right now, they're probably gonna kill us.
I say let's do it.
But their plans would have to wait, because there was an event being announced to every team.
Build competition.
A building competition was starting, meaning that the team who built the best base in the next 30 minutes would win the competition. And the prize? 2 full netherite sets. Wilding's team quickly realized how important that would be for their team, so he convinced his team to focus on building.
Alright, let's go back to our town thing and let's try to get the netherite.
Meanwhile, a small group of South players had broken off from Wilding's group and formed their own mini team. These guys were led by Zryal, and they wanted to participate in the building competition as well.
Alright, so if we build a better base than any other team, can we get our own netherite set? Because we're not with the rest of our team.
The North team wasn't as enthusiastic about the reward, but they still organized a team to work on building the base. All across the map, players shifted their minds from invasion to building. The borders between the north and south of the map were still up, so the teams weren't at risk for invasion. Yet. Wilding's South players were making decent progress, expanding their team's village with more houses and a bridge across a few mountains. Meanwhile, the Peacekeepers were pretty far behind. They had taken over an abandoned castle at the beginning of the event, so they didn't have a good reason to build another base. This stopped them from getting the netherite gear, but it also gave them time to plan for the next few hours. In the north, the building was going well. They constructed a city around a lake with multiple buildings, a farm, a boat, and a giant subscribe sign. Speaking of, you should definitely subscribe to my channel. It might seem like these players were making good progress, but they were somehow doing worse than the 3-player team from the south. Zryal had already gathered his teammates to work on building, and they had a full balcony made already with lots of decorations. Amidst the peace though, some deadly plans were being made. Wilding left his team at their base and took a few guards with him to carry out his plans.
North trying to ally with Peacekeepers, and Peacekeepers dropped me, so we're gonna try to kill them on their way here.
We have our bridge.
Yeah, let's go back to our town thing. I'm pretty sure we're gonna lose to South.
Wilding decided to give up on the Peacekeepers, for now. Speaking of the Peacekeepers, they had started some sort of skybase and had built a wall surrounding their castle, but they were still pretty far behind the rest of the teams in the building competition. Now, the building competition was almost over and most teams were finishing up. The North team had moved all players to their main base, so their mountain base was left abandoned with only a few players standing guard. Wilding's South team was finishing up their build, and so was Zryal's team, the Peacekeepers, and the North team. Zryal ended up making a fancy wooden balcony decorated with a nether portal and customized trees. This was a nice base, but it couldn't compare to the work of the South team. They had built a full village consisting of multiple houses, a bridge across a few mountains, and a hole to bedrock. Anyway, Wilding's team won the build challenge and received 2 netherite sets.
Yo, oh my god.
The other 2 teams, Peacekeepers and North, both made good builds but didn't win the competition. The North team finished their lake base, and the Peacekeepers finished the wall around their castle, but neither team received the netherite reward. However, Zryal's team was given 2nd place in the challenge, meaning that they got 1 set of netherite armor.
So, any good news?
There is some good news, yes. You guys did not get 1st place, but you got 2nd place, so you get 1 set.
Oh, we got 1 set, okay.
Can we trade in our set for a pumpkin seed?
I mean, if you want to.
No, pumpkin seed, no.
I'm joking.
Now that the build competition was over, it was only a matter of time before the border would be taken down and the players would be able to approach the other teams. But while the Peacekeepers and the South team was preparing their players to either negotiate or fight, the North team was fighting within itself.
Magnetic and X are fighting for the axe.
Bro, this is so stupid. We need numbers.
But before the borders were even removed, Wilding's team took it upon themselves to start a fight.
They're gonna die for 30 wanting me.
Remember when the Peacekeepers chased and threatened Wilding early on in the event? Well, Wilding took that personally and decided to lead a full-fledged attack on the Peacekeepers' base. So while the Peacekeepers were singing Christmas songs as a group, they got surprise attacked by a team with full diamond and netherite.
It was a ghost.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Yo, get hit! Help!
No. I'm gonna die,
Wow, Mr. Mello just combat logged. What?
We wish you
Mello
a Merry
just combat
Christmas.
logged.
Combat logging L.
Pretty much the entire Peacekeeper team was wiped out, but Wilding allowed the remaining players to live so they could have an organized fight later on.
Listen, so instead of killing you all, I have decided to let your leader live and all of your other people live, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a final battle. Instead of you guys running away, being solos, hiding underground, we're gonna have a massive fight, a massive team versus team fight, and the winner of that's gonna decide who lives and who dies.
The North players quickly learned of this attack, and they knew that the border would soon disappear. Because of this, they built a tower near the void and gathered as a group so they could fight off Wilding's team if they came to fight. But when some players approached the North team, it wasn't who they were expecting. Some of the remaining Peacekeepers, including their leader Mello, were seeking refuge within the North team. They were immediately accepted because they needed as many people as possible. Now, it was finally time for the border to be dropped. With the Peacekeepers scattered after the attack from Wilding, the bedrock barrier separating the North from the South vanished. The North players had completely combined with the Peacekeepers at this point, which led Wilding to decide to approach the North team's base.
Okay, I won't kill on sight, but I want to go see. I still want to go to the North. I still want to go to the North. I'm not gonna kill on sight.
Soon enough, the South team arrived at the North team's base. However, the North players had seen Wilding coming and had fled to the old Peacekeepers base, leaving a few players behind to discuss peace.
Well, actually, we're not gonna kill you. We're seriously not gonna kill you. Okay. Actually, you guys go down. Go down. They're gonna think it's threatening. They're gonna think it's threatening.
This is very intimidating. I'm not gonna lie.
Surprisingly enough, these few North players decided to team up with Wilding and the South team.
The Peacekeepers 1v30'd me when I went over just to say hi. I got away, and then I merged a team. And then we all became full Netherite, and then we went back and we wiped them out.
They decided to call themselves Team Civilization for the rest of the event, with the goal of finishing the event peacefully. Sporting new purple names, this was now the most powerful team, but they seemed to have peaceful intentions.
I'm 90% sure we've already won the Civ event. Over half of us are all on the same team, and we wiped out the guys who betrayed and killed all of us.
No, honey,
Since we killed them all now, I think this is boring. I think this outcome is extremely boring. And I'm thinking to myself, how can I make this an interesting video without killing everyone?
But just when Wilding was trying to finish the event off in a peaceful way, the remaining Peacekeepers and North players approached their base. The Peacekeepers wanted peace still, but Wilding was still holding a grudge from earlier on in the event.
It didn't seem like you guys wanted peace when I was 30v1.
Due to this, fighting quickly broke out and the remaining Peacekeepers were eliminated, with Wilding killing their leader Mello. So now, the only living creatures on the server were Wilding's team and the wildlife. Yet another civilization event had ended in a fight, but don't worry, this won't happen next time.